Welcome to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wolker, Vice President of RPG Research. We're a 501c3 non-profit, 100% volunteer-led. We research the effects of all role-playing games in all formats, whether it's tabletop, electronic role-playing games, hybrids, and or a live action.
Yep.
And we utilize the information we get from the research for therapeutic, educational, leisure, and entertainment purposes. You definitely can find more at rpgresearch.com. And please donate, rpgresearch.com/donate. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing good today. First section today is going to be just chatting. I believe we have a couple of topics that we're going to talk about. One of them, the Kickstarter for
Gamers
Dormers Falls.
Yeah.
Then the 42 or the 44 rules.
Right. But first, before we get into all of that, I definitely want to mention that we are what is happening recently here.
Oh, yes.
Now, first of all, we weren't here for the last 2 weeks because of illness.
Yes.
When half our crew was ill, we canceled. And sometimes we don't have a way of notifying everybody, but we will get that better.
Yeah. And honestly, one person goes down and we're down.
Pretty much. Except for me, I'm disposable.
You are not.
So
Compostable, maybe.
Compostable, disposable, recyclable.
Yeah.
Soylent Green. You don't understand the reference to Soylent Green?
I don't understand that. That's a plant-based material. It tastes delicious.
Yeah, you've been lied to. It ain't plant-based. All right. Now, in the time that we've been here...
Soylent Green tastes different from person to person.
That is true.
It depends on individual taste.
I hear clowns taste funny.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was a joke.
It could be. I am neither confirming nor denying that I would know the difference.
Okay.
We had free RPG day, so we're going to have lots to open at the boxing section.
Yep.
We are into a new Challenge of Champions, the number 2. We're still in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This time we're into 2nd edition.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we have Challenge of Champions for every edition.
Some of them I'm not looking forward to.
Well, when we run out of those, then you have to deal with whatever else I come up with. But we got a while.
Yeah.
We got a while. The other things that have been happening is we've been discussing how to reopen the center to the community.
Yeah.
One of the things holding us back is we don't have enough volunteers. Well, technically we have enough volunteers, but not enough trained volunteers.
Yeah.
RPG Research has a standard. We want our GMs to be professional GMs.
Yeah.
And that's not just 10,000 hours of work put into it, but to have the knowledge and expertise on how to deal with troublesome people, how to best use them for educational purposes. A lot of the stuff be under the hood of being a game master, besides this is a 12-sided dice and it has 12 numbers on it.
Yeah.
Or this is also a 12-sided dice, but one's a Gandalf rune and the other one is the Eye of Sauron. And if it has a number 11 on it, it's a misprint. And we're looking for number. That's not the details we want to get into.
Yeah.
I
mean, an example would be this last weekend we were running games at a community center, and I was there. I was running Top Secret New World Order.
Yes.
And admittedly, one of my players expressed that although it seemed like that player was having fun, and I do generally believe that the player was having fun, they were experiencing some challenges. And one of the things that I encountered was, well, Top Secret New World Order, it may not be as crunchy in terms of rules as, say, other systems like Dungeons & Dragons or Rollmaster, but it deals with some high concepts with espionage, where it isn't just espionage, on the outside. No, I actually do run espionage, and for his
like
age,
interrogations and...
Right.
Trying not to give the enemy as much information as you're getting from the enemy.
Right. And when I try to siphon information from the players, I'm not doing it in I want all of your information. I'm doing it nice and polite and charismatic, and I'm always able to get information from them.
Right.
Because I use lead and stuff, so it is very nuanced.
Is Susan still at the head office?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Come on, me and Susan are dating.
I'm sorry, but I can neither confirm nor deny that. You know why I'm here.
So,
yeah.
That's one thing. So this Saturday,
Yeah.
we are starting training.
Yes.
For the DMs who haven't been here, and restarting training for some of the people that have been here but can use a booster on their knowledges and techniques.
Need to knock the rust off and polish up my techniques. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've all been playing at least twice a week.
Trying to. Yeah.
Some of us got a much more busy schedule than we should, but we'll continue being busy because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's then on the 28th, Sunday,
Yeah.
from 3 to 7, we're looking at actually opening the doors to people coming in. Now that can be pushed back. That is written in jello in a hot day.
Yeah, because I was under the impression that we weren't going to open it up until we were certain that our GMs were trained up enough.
Correct.
And considering we haven't had our first training yet, we can't assess that yet.
Right. That's called the goal date, and we are prepared and planning on having to push that number back. But we have to have a date to go for. You don't set a goal, you never reach it.
Okay, so basically we're setting the goalpost so we can move it back further.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have a crew of people ready to push that thing back.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. At least we're admitting it.
Exactly. When was it that we were thinking of starting our next show?
When we can.
So
that's the honest truth, when we can. We've had a couple of hiccups with that, primarily on my part where I was working 3 jobs. I'm now only working 2 jobs. And the 2 jobs that I'm working, one is I'm kind of touch and go, but it's kind of always been like that. And the other one is a lot less stressful for me.
Which is half the battle.
Yeah, no more retail. Yay! Retail is hell.
On a good day.
Yes, it is.
And what else is coming up here? Well, we got to talk. I know
the next show that we're trying to prep for is the playtests.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're shooting for Wednesdays.
Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And we are going to be doing all the games that we've unboxed for you.
Yeah.
And ones that we unboxed a long, long time ago. We're going to start going through those and seeing how playable are these.
Yeah.
How interactive are these?
By the way, yes, it was 3 jobs: 1 retail, 1 independent care provider, and 1 as assistant for recreational therapy.
Yes, and when he says jobs, he was being paid for that, so
yeah,
that counts.
Plus volunteer work, so technically 3 jobs on a volunteer position.
Not to mention having a personal life. Kind of. Sort of.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up for our schedules. After, of course, we have the unboxings. We're going to have a play day where we broadcast. I'm booking for Call of Cthulhu. I have people already going, let me audition. And then we have Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Now, we're doing this on super hard mode without having to go to the honor mode where you only get 1 save point.
Yeah. We were talking about that. What are the details that you were planning on running?
Well, I'm going to run the Dark Urge,
yeah,
also known as the Dirge, or just plain Dirge. And I was going to play him as a goody two-shoes. I'm going to try very, very hard to play him as lawful good.
Okay. By the way, thank you for the sub.
And that is, I've been told is going to be hard enough as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also playing it kind of like I'm on honor mode, but not at the tactician difficulty,
Yeah.
which is actually tactician plus when you're doing an honor mode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go on regular thing, but I am going to treat it like it's honor mode. If I fail a roll, unless I have a in-game reason to fix that roll, such as inspiration,
Yeah.
or it just says, would you like to try again? Or whatever the in-game reason for trying again is, I like extra lockpicks. But I accept the rolls.
Yeah.
I also am going to accept TPKs.
Yeah.
And
I believe you mentioned that the one saving grace that you're going to give yourself is if everyone does die, you go back to the beginning of the chapter?
yes.
Okay.
As opposed to redone the old game. Because like I have on my current game, and I did hit that TPK,
Yeah.
and I'm almost done with the third chapter.
No spoilers. I've gotten to the end of the second chapter. Well, this is what happens when I work 3 jobs. I haven't been able to play as much Baldur's Gate as I'd like.
All I can say is if you can't see, it's a problem.
If I can't see?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Now, moving on, we're trying to get some sponsorships and things. Anybody out there who wants to sponsor or donate, please let us know. If you have products that you want us to unbox, that is real cheap. Just send us a copy of what you want us to unbox, and we'll do it.
In terms of sponsorships,
Assuming
yeah.
it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And by appropriate, I mean I'm not going to unbox your stereo system or your Disney collectibles unless it's Disney the role-playing game.
I could see that. I could see that.
We'll even try doing video games.
Mm-hmm.
Or any other kind of unboxing that you want that is RPG related.
Okay.
That can be dice, that can be dice towers, miniatures, whatever. As long as it's role-playing game related, I'm not going to show off your football jerseys unless it's Blood Bowl.
So,
But that's technically not a role-playing game, so
we're not unboxing, like, for example, car parts unless we're doing Car Wars.
and they have to be miniature car parts.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. All right. So, as you mentioned before, we are looking at Gamers for Darkness Falls.
And I'm happy to say that I believe they were able to meet their goal.
They had almost as many backers as they needed to reach their goal. Well, they had enough backers. There's 4,739 backers to reach a $581,030. The goal was $500,000. So we actually even got a stretch goal at the last minute.
Nice.
They're proudly stating that they were funded in 753 hours.
Nice.
And hooray! If you don't know what Darkness Falls is, or Gamers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Well, this would be 4.
Yeah. Gamers 1 was Darkness Rising. Then look it up on YouTube. Just Google it. You can find it and watch it for free. And they're wonderful. And by the time you finish the third one, you're going to want the fourth one.
Yeah. In fact, we actually use Gamers Darkness Rising in our training.
Yeah, that's number 2.
Because we so many things, they're so faithful to that particular type of role-playing lifestyle.
Yeah, they definitely give good examples of different types of players.
Yes. And concepts that occur in the game.
Right.
For example, flow
that
state.
we teach. Yeah, flow state, small group dynamics.
Problematic players.
Rules lawyers.
Yeah.
Chaos monkeys.
Adversarial GMs.
Yes. All that stuff is covered, and it's really a good series. So I hope you all look forward to the Gamers for Darkness Falls.
Now, I can't say that I directly donated, because one aspect of working 3 jobs is I was working 2 jobs because I'm not paid that much in terms of my bills. But I did come across on TikTok that they were trying to spread the word on TikTok. And every single time that I came across one of their videos, I posted a link directly to their I'm blanking here.
No
To their
blinking.
To their fundraiser.
Right.
So at the very least, I'm trying to like spread the word. Like, okay, you like this? Here's how you can help. I may not be able to help, but I can at least spread the word. Kickstarter, yes, thank you.
And that's sometimes all we can do.
Yeah.
All right, we're on number 10.
Oh, the 44 rules.
44 rules.
Yes.
Now, just a quick reminder that what happened with the 44 rules is a GM who had been on sabbatical,
Yeah.
apparently for the behavior that his players were presenting him, came back with a long list of rules. And the biggest problem with these rules is the harsh tone.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very dictatorial, adversarial at times.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, he has some valid points. Or she, because it is unanimous.
Anonymous.
Anonymous.
Yeah.
Who this actual GM is. And
from what I've read, it reads like a descent into just further and further aggravation.
Right.
So, we're going through each rule and we're trying to say, like, okay, this is how we could possibly do it, but, ultimately, I feel like if they're making this rule...
There was a reason for it.
Well, just making the list and just the method that, everything that was going on. I'm talking about, like, on a meta level of before even going through all the rules.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at that stage where I've read the list, honestly, I feel like end that game. I'd rather have no role-playing session than something that toxic.
Yeah, this group, in my opinion, does need to start over.
Yeah.
Some of the people may need to leave or come back in, but there needs to be a session 0 where this is discussed and not mandated down with a proclamation.
Yeah, because it is a collaborative game, GM, Game Master included.
The rule 0, GM makes the rules.
Corollary, there is no game without any players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with number 10.
Yep.
We discussed 1 through 9 in our last session that you can go back. Eventually, all these will be updated on YouTube, and I do need to talk to the tech crew about one of the tricks to get that done more efficiently.
Okay, we can do that
on break.
On break, yeah.
Or when I wake up,
Yeah. Tech crew, you're not in trouble.
No. Technically, you're not in trouble. All right, that was a pun. Get over it. All right, 10. Every snide comment, speaking of which, every snide comment
comments.
you make to an NPC will be remembered and paid back in triplicate. You all seem to believe there is little consequences. Yes and no.
Yeah.
If you don't treat an NPC well, they should remember it. If you treat them well, they should remember it. But it should also be in character.
Yeah.
Little Susie shouldn't be attacking you in your sleep. Little Susie should be getting Daddy, the half ogre brawler, to come visit you in your sleep.
Yeah. So we're not saying don't pickpocket the NPC. We're saying if you pickpocket the NPC, don't be surprised if the NPC actually finds out and isn't happy about it.
Yeah, there should be natural consequences,
Yeah.
and they should follow the storyline. If you have a mousy player or a mousy NPC,
Yeah.
they might not do anything, ever.
Mm-hmm.
But also, when you remember that all creatures act differently than maybe you would think. I have had so many players go up and try to intimidate an orc, and forgetting that the response to fear is fight, flight, fawn. Fight, flight, fawn, freeze.
Yeah.
So there's 4 responses. Fawning is, oh, please don't hurt me. Begging for your life, or I'll do anything, whatever. You want my wallet? The orc response, typically to being afraid, is fight.
Right. I mean, and there's just because someone intends something doesn't necessarily mean that that is how it's going to happen. For example, let's say you've got a player who wants to intimidate the orc chieftain, rolls a natural 20 on the intimidation check. Now the orc, this is how I'd run. Either the orc is like, "Oh, you're intimidating me," and a fight it is then, or maybe the orc starts laughing because I like the cojones on this one.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it isn't just necessarily, "Oh, I'm going to cower."
Yeah, especially if it's the chieftain, unless it's the guy, "I'm only pretending to be the chief he's out on." Yeah.
So
whatever
dodge twice?
Yeah.
Dodge, dip, dive, duck, and
dodge.
Dodgeball.
Right. That was the way the quote. The next quote is, "If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball."
Oh, jeez.
All right, so 11. Yeah. You will not be given a mega dungeon every session. Well, of course not. If it's a mega dungeon, it should take more than one session.
Yeah.
But a temple is not the size of a small city, neither is a cave. This will happen when it's natural and organic. Go play some roguelike if you want that. Roguelike is video games.
Yeah, it's a specific type of video game.
Right.
Yeah.
Dungeon crawls, that kind of stuff. But, yeah, a dungeon, by definition, is actually any location. Now, dungeon in the real world is a type of prison, holding cell.
Yeah.
But a dungeon could be an owlbear's cave, a wizard's tower. It could be the bar. Wherever the action is happening is the quote-unquote dungeon.
No, there aren't multiple rooms. You're in the house. I don't know why you're fighting there.
Well, because something down there is talking to me.
Maybe you shouldn't have had that third bean burrito.
Yeah. I was just thinking of the Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
No, not Ocarina of Time. The one where the moon falls. Mask of...
Oh, Majora's Mask?
Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
And there's the scene where there's a hand coming up through the outhouse going, "Help me, help me. I need paper."
You need paper.
All right. So, yes, it needs to be organic. It's part of the story. Yeah. Don't expect everything you come to be a full-on 14-level dungeon with each level having its own ecosystem. That's Mad Mage.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this gets into a Session 0 thing again, where we talk about what are the expectations of the players and the GM.
Yeah, what player types are we? Are we explorers? Right. Are we killers? Are we achievers? Do we like to puzzle things out? Bartlett's taxonomy of players is what I'm referring to there. Yeah. And it's not the most accurate or best one, but it's a place to talk about.
It's a good place to start. But, you're not going to necessarily expect... if you've got a group of players who are expecting every single game a dungeon crawl, and they're prepped, and their mindset is for dungeon crawl, and then you put them in the middle of court intrigue...
That's going to hurt.
That's going to hurt, yeah.
Yeah. Now, what you want really is you don't want a bunch of dungeon crawlers and you don't want a bunch of court intriguers. You want a nice mix.
Yeah, you do.
So you can tell a full, rich story. We're in the dungeon and we have to deal with the court of the undead down there who's having an argument with the Rat King.
Yeah.
All right. Now, 12. The travel portion is done. You want to travel continents doing literally whatever you want, whenever you want, go play World of Warcraft or play D&D with ChatGPT.
But what if you want to be a murder hobo? Consequences.
Yes.
Consequences.
I've never been a murder hobo. I've always had a home to go back to. But if you want to be a murder hobo, then that's the type of story you want. You play Hackmaster. If you want to be a bounty hunter, go ahead, be a bounty hunter. But remember, you're playing with a team. Unless you're doing one-on-one role-playing games or solo role-playing games, you're playing as a team. Don't leave your party all alone all the time, because the GM will enjoy when you separate the party.
Yeah, and I think I've come across enough groups where it's like, oh, the entire group are a bunch of murder hobos,
Yeah.
and they quickly learn that I don't care if it's the entire group. When it comes to my games, there are always consequences. There are always bigger fish.
We
I
also
will
have
bring in my my white dragon with 20 levels of barbarian.
And we also have the presumption that we are here for heroic play. This is at RPG Research.
Yeah, at RPG Research.
I have ran evil campaigns before, where everybody was playing vampires and werewolves and stuff. So also, that's another thing to point out. We're not always just talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
We're talking about the whole span of role-playing games and available. So some games handle certain things differently.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you play the game.
Are allowed. Yeah. You can pick and choose which bounties you go after.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have
You
to...
could play Dexter.
Yeah.
Who is a serial killer who only kills other serial killers. You can be the good guy, and if you're a bounty hunter, you have the no kids rule and the no, I don't bring in innocent people or whatever.
Yeah.
Tabletop or otherwise, of course.
Yeah, we actually went over the 4 types that we acknowledge, which are hybrid, which is a combination of everything. That's a catch-all. We've got live action, we've got tabletop, and we have electronic, which includes video games and
audio games,
and a bunch of others that are more electronic and based. Yeah.
Must warn you, I won't tell you which ones, but some role-playing games have social constructs in them, so that, and with consequences. So if you're nice to people, you get treated nice. If you're mean to people, you get treated mean. You can have good and evil outcomes. Baldur's Gate 3 is one that I will name.
Yeah.
And Tales is another one. And what's the other one called? It's more chat than it is running around and stuff, because you're choosing, does Batman give away his secret, or does he stab the guy in the eyeball? Not always.
I'm not familiar with that one. Elite Dangerous is like that. They have a crime and punishment system. Okay,
Right.
I think that'd be interesting to look into.
Yeah, we were on 11 and we were talking about natural and organic and stuff like that. Travel proportion is done.
Yeah.
When we were talking about travel, though, because we skipped that topic entirely.
Yeah, well, it's done. We moved on.
Right. That's just an option. If you want to handle travel as the dots on the map, or just say, you have arrived in the town of Hickabah, then fine. That's one way to do it. If you want to actually experience travel and do hex crawls, where you're exploring each hex of an island or something like that, or you can use games like the One Ring role-playing game, or the Lord of the Rings 5th edition role-playing game, which is just the One Ring role-playing game with 5th edition rules.
Yeah.
Travel is a big part of the story, how you get there, and what kind of encounters you have on there before you get to the adventuring stage, which is another stage, and then you have audience stages and things like that. So how you want to play travel is a choice that you guys can discuss. If the GM doesn't want to play all right, who's on security watch today, and who's carrying what, and how many arrows are you carrying, that kind of grittiness, then don't.
Yeah.
Just ignore the encumbrance, ignore how you got there. You are there.
And I mean, in terms of travel, I can understand the apprehension towards it, because I've had my own issues with travel, but I want to be able to focus on travel somewhat. So I've been, on my own personal journey on trying to figure out a effective and holistic way to incorporate travel into my game without necessarily feeling like it's tacked on or it's an arduous task, unless I want that travel to feel like, okay, this is exhausting. It is a long and arduous task.
So good. Some examples. We have the original Hex Crawl,
Yeah.
which is Dungeon of Dread, which
Yeah.
has been updated to 5th edition by Goodman Games. And that is literally exploring 1 mile squares and then moving on to the other one and then moving on to the other one and rolling for encounters in each square. They may be 5 mile squares. They could be 10 mile squares. That's not what matters.
Yeah.
Hex Crawl is you got a hex shaped map and you're moving from one hex to another in order to you're doing an exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Random encounters, all that kind of stuff. Rolling for random weather. I have players that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I have other players who don't care about the travels, but there are other travel methods. So we got the One Ring.
Yeah.
We have the original Hex Crawl where you're just rolling along as you go along. And
random encounters.
Yeah, with random encounters and everything like that. There is a new book by not Goodman. 7. Cubicle 7.
Cubicle 7, yeah.
Has published a book on journey rolls.
Okay.
And creating characters with the life path method, some of those books. So there are ways to do this stuff and do ingrain it organically. I think the most organic one I've seen is the One Ring role-playing games.
Yeah.
Travel rolls. It's really super simple, and you can travel several miles on a single die roll.
Mm-hmm. I've liked it a couple of times when I've used it. I've had struggles though incorporating that into my 5th edition games. I just think it needs a bit more work. But one thing that I've been doing is I recently came across a video that kind of reworked the travel rules. Instead of saying, okay, how many miles, and I've already given up on the concept of like trying to track miles, I personally try to go with leagues, and basically have hexes of 8 leagues. So like, how many leagues can you travel in a day? 1 hex. You can travel 1 hex per day. So they said, okay, is it a short distance, a medium distance, or a long distance? If it's short distance, 1 event happens. It can be social, combat, or skill-based, or exploration. Right. If it's a medium, 2 encounters. If it's a long encounter, if it's a long distance, 3 encounters.
Yep.
Yeah, but they all have to be connected to the plot somehow, or
well, at least connected to the territory.
Right, or showcasing the territory.
Yeah. So, in one of the Lord of the Rings encounters is you see old ruins, just the remains, pebbles on the ground, and a statue with a broken head.
Yeah.
That's the entire encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You see an interesting sight. Roll this, and if you get a good roll, you're inspired. If you get a bad roll, you have a point of misery or a shadow point, depending on what.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be just simple things. Sometimes it can be, I just met this person, and we now have to deal with a social thing, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a combat thing.
Yeah.
Etc. etc.
I would probably avoid the you see insert random magical item here, because then you'll have people who will beeline towards that and derail.
Or find out that they're going to die.
Yeah.
Because insert magic item here. What else do you bait a trap with?
True. Ooh, an angler mimic.
I've heard some really bad mimics. I know this is getting us slightly derailed, but I've heard of the bed mimic, the chair mimic, the toilet mimic is one of the worst ones. I've even used coffin mimics, but it's the chest is not a mimic. The helmet inside though.
Ooh, yeah, that was nasty. Yeah.
I put the helmet on. That's the last thing you ever do. Automatic decapitation.
Although I did like the story of the chair was the mimic, but the orc was so intimidating that the mimic knew his place.
It just sat there quietly.
Yeah.
All right, 13. If you're late for no good reason, I'm going to halve your character hit points for the entire session. That's a carrot and stick problem. You're using a stick to punish people who may or may not have. I mean, we know that you're going to say that you're the only one who decides whether it's a good reason.
Yeah.
I got caught behind a train. Well, that's not a good reason. I was hit by a train. Well, maybe. There's the joke. The guy calls into work and says, or texts into work, I can't make it in. There's a cat on my car. Move the cat and get in work. Don't be such a daisy, whatever.
Yeah.
And the next thing he does is text back the picture of a Caterpillar tractor that had fallen over on top of his car.
That, and even if it isn't a big thing, like, okay, I'm going to be 5 minutes late, I'm going to lose half my hit points. I don't have to put up with this game. I'll just not show up.
Right. And he's that's, and hit points is, that's rather brutal.
Yeah.
But what about this? You show up on time, or 15 minutes, or everybody who shows up 15 minutes early to the start time gets an inspiration token.
I was actually just thinking that, yeah.
And this is a bonus inspiration token, because if you already have inspiration, now you have 2.
Yeah.
It works better. Honeys and vinegar, carrots and sticks, guns and chocolate. Or is that Guns N' Roses?
No, I mean, Guns N' Roses is always a... Oh, no, not always. They've kind of broken up, but it used to be what is it? Not Insight. That could probably, well, rock music and concert tickets would be able to lure me out. Yeah.
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 Okay, if you don't show up for no good reason, that will be determined by me alone if no one else has the guts to say blank for fear of upsetting one another. The first time you'll find yourself losing either a whole level or up to 3 major items of your own. The second time you do it in a row, you'll be removed from chat and the group, full stop. I have no blanking time for people who do not show up. All right, there's a concept called no show, no call.
Yeah.
And I was always amazed that businesses would allow 3 no call, no shows before firing somebody. I always felt the first one was you quit. If you don't call and tell the person, yes, again, it is very punishment heavy. It's not rewarding good behavior, it's punishing bad behavior.
Yeah.
But in both cases, there is a legitimate request. I don't care if it's a good reason, but I've actually had people cancel on me saying, I want to play World of Warcraft tonight.
Okay.
But they communicated beforehand.
Yeah.
It's the person who's sitting there, you're waiting for so-and-so to show up, and they just don't show up, and everybody's just waiting. That deserves a comment. Maybe not killing your character or dropping them down a level.
Yeah, and I feel like, what needs to be built here is an environment of healthy communication.
Right.
If you're requesting no calls, no shows, it's like, okay, and we're calling attendance on what is supposed to be entertainment. That's not good, healthy communication. I feel like if you're at a game and there's a no call, no show, I'm not docking you. I'm concerned.
Yes.
Like, okay, what happened? And if you're now ghosting me, okay, no, that's a breach of trust.
Second time you do it in a row, that means you don't show up twice. Like, I missed Monday's game and I missed next Monday's game, and I didn't communicate with anybody.
Okay, sidelined. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah. But the whole thing is here, communication. He's got a chat room. If you're going to be missing it, say something in the chat room.
Yeah.
Text the GM. You have communications outside of the table. It's obvious. Do it.
Yeah.
And whether or not this is a paid game, a game with your friends, or if... Now, pop-ins, that's okay.
Yeah.
If you don't show up to a drop-in game, that's on you. There's no punishments, there's no problems, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But the GM has to call and tell the store or the community center or the library that you're not going to show up on time. Now, very soon, we are going to... I'm just going to do one more. Then we'll get
let's do one more.
15. If you get too stoned or drunk to play, I will go home without warning. The warning is here. Our games RPG research, no alcohol, no drugs.
Yeah.
Trust me, you do not play better when you're stoned. LSD is not going to make your game better. It's going to make you do some wild things that you're going to forget about or terrify yourself with. We've, not us personally, done research, but there is research, and we would like to do more research. I just need to get a $5,000 waiver. What's that waiver we need? For doing scientific experiments on people?
Not DEA, but I don't know.
I know this. It's a BI.
And I'd rather not recreate the Stanford experiments.
Well, the Stanford experiments is why we have this.
Yes.
IB, IRB, Internal Review Board.
Okay, yeah.
The Internal Review Board
Yeah,
waiver.
Do not. If you know about the Stanford experiments, you know about the Stanford experiments. If you don't know about the Stanford experiments,
It's okay to Google it.
yeah,
You
but
can learn.
understand that it is going to be worse than you think.
It was a bad experiment.
It was a very bad experiment.
And people were put in danger, and now the same person who made that a mess, went ahead and helped get the IRB process.
Yeah.
So, but before I can do experiments of running games with people that are in altered states, I need an IRB waiver, and I need a lot of money.
Yeah.
RPGresearch.com/donate.
Yeah. And our insurance is not going to cover that. No.
We are, our code of conduct does not allow for that.
No.
So, last thing I want to say.
Yep.
We're going to take a 15-minute break. We will come back and we will do our topic of the day, which is safety tools.
Yes.
Speaking of coming in drunk or things, we're going to talk about those kind of activities. And
this is following up from our romance topic last time.
right. Well, we've also done horror.
Yeah.
And we're going to do historical in the future. So we want to get some information out there for you to help you with those kind of things.
Yeah.
We'll do that for an hour
Yeah.
or 45 minutes. Then we'll take another 15-minute break. We will do the puzzle of the week.
Yeah, traps and riddles.
And then we will do our unboxing. And we have so much unboxing that
I'm
we
looking
might
forward to
not finish it.
I am looking forward to it. There's one in there that I want to crack that open.
Well, don't break anything. All right, folks. We'll see you in 15 minutes.
Yeah. We'll be back.
Have a wonderful day.
We'll be back. Yeah. Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is...
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. Find out more at rpgresearch.com.
Yep.
Well, we research role-playing games, and we use them for your benefit. Definitely find out more there. We are going to get into the main topic quickly because it is a big topic.
It is, yeah.
And we may have to have a second run at it if people need or request that we go more deep into the different tools and stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those topics where I don't feel there will ever be enough spoken about it. And we're talking about safety rules, or safety tools here.
Now, I do want to also verify that right now we're talking about psychological safety as opposed to LARP safety or accessibility. We will do a full conversation on accessibility, things like getting wheelchairs into your play space or proper lighting and all those other things.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I got distracted by a mouse, not a real one.
Yeah.
The imaginary ones are the worst.
So we're talking about psychological safety tools as opposed to physical safety tools.
Right. But some of them will bleed over into some of the physical.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. How to have a safe game for everybody who wants to play.
And I think this meshes really, really well into the 44 rules that we're talking about. And these are the type of things that we tend to advocate for talking about in the conceptual session 0, where we talk about, okay, what are the expectations of the game?
Right.
Okay, that isn't just, oh, I'm going to be running this. It could be, well, we're going to be talking about these type of topics. Don't be surprised if these type of topics come up. Are you going to be comfortable with that? If you are uncomfortable, what are the things that we're going to use? Because, the last thing you want is a situation where someone is clearly uncomfortable and not handling it well, and you've got a game master or players who are ignorant of that, pushing it on and making them feel even more isolated and possibly more hurt.
Now, you already mentioned session 0.
Yeah.
Hawk hates the concept of session 0.
That's why I said conceptually.
But right now, it is the language that people are going to use.
Yeah, it's a lingo.
So we're going to still call it session 0, even though we are also going to attempt to play some. Most people call it session 0 because there's no role-playing game that day.
Yeah.
If you're scheduling 4-hour sessions, there's no reason you can't do a session 0 and a short actual first session.
Yeah. I generally treat my session 0 conceptually as this is what I'm doing before we ever get to the first session. And these are things where like, okay, what characters are you playing and whatnot, and oh, by the way, I'm going to be playing a horror game. We're playing Curse of Strahd. This is horror. There's going to be blood, there's going to be gore, there's going to be some sexuality in there. How are you guys comfortable with this? Do I have to fade to black in certain things? Is there certain areas that we need to avoid?
So I think what I want to start with here is session 0.
Yeah.
And how to conduct a session 0. This is from Bob World Builder. Yeah. He has a Patreon. The link for that will be up in our chat. He has a YouTube video all about it.
I've seen a couple of his videos, yeah.
Yeah. So this is his ultimate session 0 checklist. Okay. Now, I do want to emphasize this is his.
Yeah,
yours can be different. Ours can be a little different. Ours will go refer to the code of conduct.
Yeah.
And other things. So I'm going to just go quickly over his checklist so we can understand an example of one.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is team building.
Yeah.
Starting yourself or as volunteer, go around the group and have everyone answer the following questions. He has things like that. We can do team building through other exercises.
Yeah.
Such as house building for Song of
Fire and Ice or Dune.
Or Dune.
Yeah.
Those are systems that are there that can build the camaraderie up.
Camaraderie, yeah.
And you can also tell people when or have people already discussing how they know each other, why
Yeah.
they're friends, and things like that. But so team building is one of the first things he does. The next thing he talks about is scheduling.
Yeah.
How long can you, how many weeks, months, or years can you commit to?
Yeah.
How often do we want to play, per week, per month?
Yeah.
How long the sessions are,
I think that's very important to know.
when, where, who, what, when, where, and why all has to be answered.
Yeah. The
We-
logistics of running a game. This is how you start defeating the schedule monster.
We used to have the 8 things that everybody needs to run a role-playing game,
Yeah.
or to make it a role-playing game. And one of our volunteers pointed out we're missing one, and he goes, "What's that?" Time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so we've added a 9th one because how obvious, you need to have a time, a consistent time.
Yeah.
We recommend anywhere from once a week for 4 hours, or if you can do even daily for a half an hour. But the shorter the sessions, the more sessions you need.
Yeah.
If you only meet once a year, you might want to have a 16-hour, 24-hour session.
Yeah. Entire weekend, but it's once a year.
Yeah. And we do that with Paranoia. We only play once a year on New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got to discuss the scheduling. We have to discuss the cable expeditions. That's everything from food to alcohol,
Yeah.
smartphones, whether people.
So expectations at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Our code of conduct will be discussed at those times.
Yeah.
What do we do if this comes up? How do we handle conflicts at the table? And by conflicts, I don't mean character versus orc. I'm talking when player versus player or player versus dungeon master conflict comes up outside of the character in the game.
Yeah. We cover that in our code of conduct as well.
We'll discuss the ratings, consequences for rules breaking. We'll talk more about ratings, and that's from whether it's a G or
NC-17.
NC-17 is what we call it now. I still think of them as X-rated.
Yeah. Same here.
Old. We'll talk about those things. We're going to talk about the campaign framework. Are we doing high magic, low magic, no magic?
Gritty. Superhero.
Right.
Yeah.
What house rules are we going to use?
Yeah. This is all gets into expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is a checklist that he has to make sure he's talked about everything.
Yeah.
Like, how are we doing characters? Are we doing point buy, standard array, rolling, some other method? There's a method, it's called the life path method, that you're basically playing and to find out what your stats are.
Yeah. And soft magic versus hard magic tends to be defined